Assalamu alaikum. I am Dr. Jamil Abbas from the Physiology Department, and today's lecture is in continuation of the growth hormone, which is a part of the endocrinology. We have seen the multiple effects of the growth hormone on the proteins, carbohydrates, fats, and today we are going to see what is the effect of growth hormone on the bones, and then we'll move to the abnormalities of this growth hormone. So, the few words regarding the effect of growth hormone on the bones. So if you see the anatomy of this bone, this is known as the epiphysis. Below it the epiphyseal plate. Here you can see this is your epiphyseal plate. This is the epiphyseal plate. The darkish blue color is the epiphyseal plate, and this is the cartilage. Actually, this epiphyseal plate is also a part of the cartilage. The bone growth, or when the bones they are going to be more and more tall, and this is the area where the growth occurs, and this growth occurs due under the effect of the growth hormone. This growth hormone move this dotted area, or you can say the lined area, area above this lined area, which is the epiphyseal plate. And here you can see on this area the growth hormone is going to affect this area. And what are those effects on this area? That is, the chondrocytic deposition of the protein is enhanced by the growth hormone. That means what is growth hormone is going to do? It is causes the deposition of proteins by the chondrocytes. Second thing is the chondrocyte cells, their reproduction and the reproduction of the osteocytes is also enhanced under the effect of the growth hormone. And third is a very important thing, that is the conversion of the chondrocytes in the osteogenic cells. So when this epiphyseal plate is going more and more upward, this epiphyseal plate is going to move more and more upward. The bone is going to be enlarged and is becoming more and more tall. So when this epiphyseal plate is fused with this metaphysis, this lower portion metaphysis, then the elongation of bone is stopped. So what is the effect of the growth hormone? It increase the activity of the chondrocytes, deposition of the proteins over here, reproduction of the chondrocytes, and ultimately convert the chondrocytes in the osteogenic cell. There is a bone forming cell. So in this way, growth of the, or you can say elongation of the bone growth occurs through the epiphyseal plate under the effect of the growth hormone. And this diagram you can well imagine. You can see here in this diagram that this is the bone. After the effect of the growth hormone, bone is going to be elongated. This is your epiphyseal plate. This one epiphyseal plate previously was at this level, but after the effect of the growth hormone is moved upward, and that's why the bone has been elongated under the effect of the growth hormone. Second thing is that the growth hormone, here your bone is covered from all sides through a membrane, and this membrane also grows under the effect of the growth hormone, and thickening of the bones occur through this under the effect of the growth hormone. Thickening of the bone also occurs. So elongation of bone and thickening of the bone of the is occur through growth hormone. These are the effects of the growth hormone on the bones. Now let's see what are the different types of the abnormalities of the growth hormone. One of the very important and the common thing, not the very common, but one of the very important thing is the which is known as panhypopituitarism, which is known as the panhypopituitarism. Pan means all the hormones. Hypo means less. That means all the hormones produced by the pituitary gland, their production is reduced or decreased. That means all the 8 hormones coming from the pituitary, their production has been reduced. And the signs and symptoms of the hypopituitarism vary and depend upon the which hormone is more affected, or under secretion of which hormone is going to affect more and more. So again, this deficiency of all anterior pituitary hormone is more common than the individual hormone deficiency. Now keep in mind that panhypopituitarism, although we call it as a panhypopituitarism, but usually it is not a panhypopituitarism. Usually it occurs in the anterior pituitary. And there sometimes there is individual hormones deficiency also occur. Now, the sign and symptoms of this panhypopituitarism depends upon the deficiency of the different types of the hormones. For example, the gonadotropins, the LH and FSH, luteinizing hormone, follicular stimulating hormone, if they are decreased, then the woman, they will feel the oligomenorrhea or amenorrhea. Oligomenorrhea, less amount of menstruation; amenorrhea, no menses, and infertility, that they cannot reproduce themselves. Then in men, loss of the facial, scrotal, and the truncal hair. That means loss of hair in different parts of the body. Then decreased muscle mass and the anemia, less production, because different types of, mainly the main hormone on the men, they are going to produce more and more hemoglobin. So it occurs as a stimulant for the production of the hemoglobin. Then in the both sexes, what will happen? They may experience a decrease in libido, that is desire for the sex, and the loss of sexual function, and have increased risk of osteoporosis. That means your bones, they become fragile, they are easily fractured. Then lack of LH and FSH in children associated with a delayed puberty, that they will become young later as compared to the normal person. Then the growth hormone deficiency lead to the decrease in the muscle mass, central obesity, that means increase the body fat around the waist, and the impaired attention and memory. Children experience growth retardation and the short stature. So these were the signs and symptoms regarding your LH and FSH. Now if adrenocorticotropic hormones deficiency, ACTH deficiency occurs, that will lead to the decreased production of the glucocorticoids through adrenals. Symptoms include the fatigue, weight loss, delayed puberty, hypoglycemia, anemia, and hyponatremia. These are the different symptoms that may produce due to the deficiency of the glucocorticoids, and this glucocorticoid deficiency is due to the deficiency of ACTH. Then this ACTH is highly similar to the primary addison deficiency of ACTH, or you can say the symptoms of the ACTH, they are highly resembled to the primary addison disease. We will see later on the addison disease in detail, which is when there is a cortisol deficiency, it will lead to the ACTH, it will lead to the Addison's disease as a result of the direct damage to the adrenal glands. Because actually the ACTH is coming from your pituitary gland, and this is going to affect on the adrenal gland, and adrenal gland is going to produce your cortisols. So if there is deficiency of ACTH, ultimately there will be a deficiency of glucocorticoids, and this is also known as the Addison disease. Then we will move to the another hormone, that is the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. If there is a deficiency of this hormone, that it will lead to the hypothyroidism. Then the typical symptoms are the tiredness, intolerance to cold, constipation, weight gain, hair loss, slowed thinking. All these things we will study in detail when we will study the hypothyroidism. Similarly, we will later on we will study the Addison's disease in detail. In children, hypothyroidism leads to the delayed growth and extreme inborn forms of the syndrome called cretinism. We will see later on what is meant by the cretinism, and we will see in detail all these things. Then the deficiency of the prolactin plays a role in the breastfeeding, and inability to breastfeed may point at abnormally low prolactin level. We will see when we will study the prolactin hormone in detail. So different symptoms of the panhypopituitarism or hypopituitarism depends upon the deficiency of different types of the hormones coming from the anterior pituitary. This was all about the panhypopituitarism. Let's move to another thing which is known as the gigantism. Now we have seen what happens when there is a hypopituitarism, and the two conditions which are usually known as due to the due to the hyperpituitarism, or you can say excess. This is not hyperpituitarism, this is due to the excess of growth hormone. These two things, gigantism and acromegaly, these are mainly due to the excess of the growth hormone, gigantism and the acromegaly. The simple difference is that gigantism, when the excess of growth hormone is before the puberty, and acromegaly is after the puberty. Or in technical terms, you can see the gigantism occurs before the closure of the epiphyseal plates. That is, there are still chances of the elongation of the bone. And acromegaly occurs when the epiphyseal plates are closed and there are no further chances of elongation of bones, but still there is a chance of thickening of the bones still there. Now the gigantism. In more than 90% of cases, pituitary adenoma is the main cause. Pituitary adenoma is the main cause of this one. Before the closure of the epiphyseal plate, the excess of growth hormone lead to the hyperglycemia. Why it's hyperglycemia? Because it causes insensitivity to the insulin. So main function of the insulin is to cause the movement of the glucose through the cell membrane into the cell. So when the glucose cannot move into the cell because there is insensitivity of the insulin due to the excess of growth hormone, so there will lead to the hyperglycemia and it will lead to the type 2 diabetes. And in the end, what will happen? Due to the persistent hyperglycemia, when there is hyperglycemia, pancreas beta cell will secrete more and more insulin. But this insulin cannot function. So what will happen? The beta cells of the pancreas, they burn out, and there is a frank diabetes. And on the other side, due to the excessive production of growth hormone, ultimately the pituitary gland is destroyed itself and it may lead to the death. So this was all about the gigantism. That gigantism is main thing to remember or to memorize is that it is before the closure of the epiphyseal plate or before the onset of the epiphysis, and it will lead to the hyperplasia. Other symptoms are there, that the person will be very tall, it will be very tall and elongated person, but inside it will lead to the hyperglycemia and ultimately type 2 diabetes, and pituitary gland itself may be destroyed at the end. Then we will move to the acromegaly. Acromegaly is due to the excess of growth hormone after the closure of epiphyseal plate. Sorry, here the closure of epiphyseal plate. So there is no chance of elongation of bones, because elongation of bones is going to occur at the level of the epiphyseal plate. When it has been closed, then there is no further elongation of bones. If the adenoma develops after puberty, adenoma is a bone benign, it is a pituitary tumor which is usually benign, but it causes the enlargement of your pituitary gland, leading to the excess production of the different types of the hormones. We are mainly concerned with the growth hormone at this level. And patient cannot grow tall. Now these patients with acromegaly, they cannot grow tall. Why? Because there is epiphyseal plates, they are already closed, but their bones become more and more thicker. And especially this happens in the membranous bones, they continue to grow. That's why the jawbone, the nose, the lower jaw, skull, supraorbital ridges, portion of the vertebra, all these things, they are enlarged in size. When the jawbone is enlarged, your teeth cannot be closed properly, coincide over each other. Your nose appear as very typical shape, and skull supraorbital ridges, they will give a typical appearance to the person, and protrusion of some parts of the vertebrae will lead to the kyphosis. The initial symptom is typically enlargement of hands and the feet. Inside the body, many soft tissues or soft tissue organs also enlarge, like liver, kidneys, tongue, they are also enlarged. So this was all about the acromegaly. Now the treatment of this acromegaly and the gigantism is the surgical removal of the gland, and which usually occurs nowadays very easily through the nose, or when there is a hypopituitarism, that can be treated by giving different hormones like growth hormones, because the growth hormones are like insulin, which is also a hormone. They are produced by the genetically engineered technology on the bacteria which is known as E. coli, Escherichia coli. So initially the growth hormones were extracted from the human, which were very difficult, but nowadays very easily due to the genetics, involvement of genetics in the technology, and we can have a lot of plenty of growth hormones and the other hormones in our pharmacies. So there is easy treatment of the hypo, and hyper treatment is usually is the removal of the gland through the surgical procedures. So this was all about the different types of the abnormalities regarding the growth hormone, and we will move to in the next lecture we will move to the thyroid hormones. Thank you very much. Sorry, not the thyroid, because we will move to the posterior pituitary, that's the ADH, and the your oxytocin. First we'll see these two, then we'll move to the thyroid hormone. Thank you very much.